And now to our first conversation, we see point of sale transaction values saw a downturn in Nigeria for the first quarter of 2024, registering a 225 billion naira drop when compared to the corresponding quarter of the previous year. And we're going to highlight what's driving that and currency outside banks, at this time. See, joining us is Sarafuddin Fasasi, is the National President, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria. Join us from Abuja. Great to have you.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
So with the data we're seeing right now, we're seeing a significant decline, about 7.94%. Fall in the use of POS systems for transactions within the country. What do you think is driving or drove this drop?
Okay, thank you so much. It shouldn't be surprising for us to see that drop. It is expected. It is an outcome of policy, wrong policy. We are all aware about the tragedy of currency redesign, which actually squeezed out a lot of POS operators out of business, and for the fact that a lot of players are also having what we call a sort of mistrust. There is a mistrust in the generality of banking services. So for drop in POS transaction, it is expected, and it is triggered by regulation issues. After the cash redesign challenge, I think CBN also announced the issue of KYC, update on bank accounts. And as we have the understanding that most of the POS transactions are actually being driven by the fintech companies, and they are usually on wallet system. And the policy of KYC upgrade is really affecting mostly the wallet system providers because they are not carried along. So they were not prepared. The industry stakeholders are not prepared for all these policies. So there was, you need time to build infrastructure, to develop an application that will capture BVN verification, NIN verification. As of today, a lot of providers, they have shut down, growth in wallet creation because they are battling with how to comply with emergency policy of KYC.
Right, quite interesting there. Definitely, everyone needs KYC at this time. But, despite the downturn in POS transaction values and volumes for Q1, there's been an uptrend in the registration of POS terminals during the same period. So we're seeing a drop, in POS transactions, but an increase in POS terminals. What does that tell us?
Most of this data are aftermaths of series of events. So what the data is speaking to is not the present. So data is speaking to what has happened in the past, the build up, to the present. So in terms of infrastructure, which is the POS, they are usually pre-orders. They are usually pre-planned by service providers. So a lot of them actually have their projections year on year. They have placed a lot of orders. They have, business plan, a growth plan, which they are already implementing. A lot of them have placed orders, before now. So before the tragic regulatory, policy, caught up with them, which actually, threw everybody off balance. And it is what we are seeing in the data today. It's not of today because, a lot of people have planned, a lot of investors. I really pity the service providers because, and I think going forward, I think the CBN and our regulators should see regulation as stakeholders, agenda. And before they come up with certain policy, they need to sync with every players. So that they will not just be investing in the lagoon. So it's so unfortunate. So the terminals that you are seeing today, they were pre-planned of the growth because we're all motivated to grow this industry. We have a gap of about 26% in financial inclusion, and that was what all the players planned towards, of increasing the number of POS terminals. You can see additional 1.1 trillion, 1.1 million POS terminals, in the country, but we can't deploy them. Service provider cannot deploy them because of currently a lot of them have put a pause to wallet creation and customer acquisition. So they can't deploy it. So it's either today you will see an agent outside there with 5 POS terminals, 10 POS terminals, on the same spot. They are not doing more than 20 counts of transactions. So it's a waste of resources. I pity the investors. So, and that is caused by, the regulation that is not bringing all of us to the table. Yeah.
And definitely we've had issues with POS charges. How are you seeing POS charges at this time? Are the prices within, the threshold you would like to see?
Okay, charges on POS has never been a problem, quite all right, because access is critical first, is the number one, than thinking about affordability. And I think as of today, most of the charges are actually not, so extortive in nature, because Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, we are paying attention that normal customers are not being, extorted. So we advise on regular basis on how much to charge at POS locations. So it's also a function of cost to serve because there is inflation. POS operators are also, in the same market, buying petrol, transportation, data, paying the cost, high cost of interest rate of cash. Those are the additional costs. But we have been working with our members to be more reasonable, and I think they have been more compliant. So we don't have a challenge with affordability. And part of our work is actually, but the trend that we have observed is those areas where we have high excluded rates. In the ruralness, because of cost. Most of our agents are shutting down in most of those rural areas. Across the river, all those difficult terrains where there are no bank branches, but agents cannot break even, and they can't increase their prices. So we are trying to work with the industry stakeholders to see how we can incentivize, and because inclusion shouldn't be in the city; it should be in the rural areas. So that is where they are needed. But we have to work around incentives. Thank you.
Yes, and let's look at currency in circulation and currency outside banks. Now, we've seen a growth in the proportion of currency, held outside the banks, and it suggests a deepening trend of cash retention by Nigerians. At this time, we look at the data there. It says cash outside bank that jumped substantially in the first quarter of 2024. Currency in circulation also rose in the first quarter of 2024 by 163%, 276% rise. That's in January and February alone. So is it that we're seeing people hold cash more at this time instead of leaving it in the banks?
Okay, thank you so much. I think this is also expected. It is expected. We need to actually work on there is a need for us to reverse the mistrust created by the cash redesign policy. As of today, because we have not been able to take some strategic steps to heal the wounds of that cash redesign policy. A lot of people got their hands burnt. They took their money to the bank. They couldn't withdraw the money. So they have lost faith. And that has actually increased the exclusion rate in Nigeria. You will be shocked by the time another FINA report will be out about the exclusion rate because all those policies of the past are actually showing in the data of today. So when people are not actually having that belief in the banking system, a lot of people are doing cash transactions now. So cash are actually exchanging hands. It's about the trust issue that people have in the banking system. And we need to really agree that there was a problem, and we need to really amend our ways and to work, with well, all the agents, all the financial literacy players to reverse this trend. We need to be able to start the conversation again, the engagement again, and let people believe in our banking system. And luckily enough, I think NIPS has really worked on the issue of, bank transfers, bank transactions. The failure rates have dropped tragically, no decline issues. So I think we just need to engage more players at the level of AMBA, and Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria. We have been doing a lot of advocacies to let people realize that their money, they can actually come back to the banking system. And another challenge is that currently now a lot of them their accounts are not updated based on the KYC that NIN and BVN should be mapped to bank accounts, and that is not happening today because we need to create an access point for people to have access to NIN, BVN, and most importantly, to be able to marry the databases of the two databases, because you cannot link the two databases to a particular account if you have not done what we call modification. So if your name is different, the arrangement of your name in BVN is different from that of the NIN, you need what we call modification. And modification is not available, it's not accessible at the rural of the ruralness. Over 300 local governments in Nigeria without bank branches. So we shouldn't limit modification to the banks. And that was why AMBA rolled out neighborhood financial inclusion centers and positioning in those excluded local government. But we are still appealing to NIMC, and we are also discussing with NIPS. Can you release those critical services to those centers so that our people can have access, modify their data, then they can be able to link it to their bank account, and the bank account can be reactivated.
Yes.
And also remember that a lot of bank accounts were locked during cash redesign policy. I am an example. The bank needs to go back. That why are these accounts linked up to today? They need to reactivate those and allow people to have trust in the banking sector and bring their money into the banks. A lot needs to be done. The stakeholders need to be talking to themselves, and we need to see regulation as stakeholders, process. It should be as a matter of a lot of engagement, not just a top-down approach of dish out the policy, or the industry must comply. You need to find out, are they ready? Are your providers ready? Are the agents ready? Are the customers, are they ready? Have you done proper orientation to them to believe on the policy that you are trying to roll out? So we need to try to be, approaching these stakeholders. And we are lucky that presidency has seen this, and they have put up an office of the financial, special advisor of financial inclusion, and they are coming up with a stakeholder workshop. That's the program that will be happening tomorrow, where all stakeholders are being summoned to come and have this conversation so that we can, resolve this problem. Then we can move forward in driving, banking system in Nigeria, financial inclusion in Nigeria, so that we can actually grow these numbers again.
All right, thank you so much.
We can't afford to go back to the old days of
exactly. It can be a real headache, trying to, make corrections, when it comes to data with public services. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Sarafuddin Fasasi, National President, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll head straight to the markets. Just stay with us.